Hello students. So in today's class of discussion, we will read about reproduction in organism. So first of all, we have to understand what is reproduction. Okay. From all living organisms, okay, another living organism of same kind is produced, and the tendency is known as reproduction. Okay. If we simply mean it, then all the living organisms, those who are existing on this earth, okay, they try to maintain their number. Okay. They try to produce a same kind of organism like themselves, and that process is known as reproduction. Okay. It maintains the constancy and continuity of the species. If we discuss what is constancy, then the constancy means constancy in shape, constancy in height, constancy in looking, constancy in appearance. Okay. Those things will be copied by the process of reproduction. If we see continuity, then the continuity is the maintenance of the chromosome number, okay, the maintenance of the cell. Okay. So these are the constancy and continuity of the species. Depending upon the factors like environment, physiology, habitat of an organism, the mode of reproduction is also varied. Okay. That can be broadly sexual or asexual. Okay. That actually depends on the environment, physiology, and habitat. Okay. If environment is not supporting you the sexual reproduction, then you will have to go for the asexual reproduction. Then asexual are also of so many types. In sexual reproduction, reproductive units are involved like gametes, which can be male or female gametes. But in asexual method, offspring production do not involve gamete formation. Gamete means an organism will produce a haploid cell to involve in sexual reproduction. That is known as gamete. But in asexual method, that offspring will not produce any gamete. Okay. Rather, it can be achieved by motile or non-motile spores. Spores means those who are actually not sexual gametes. Okay. They can be haploid, they can be diploid, they can be motile, they can be non-motile. Motile means they can move, non-motile means they cannot move. Vegetative propagation is also a type of asexual means of reproduction, but it involves different parts or organs rather than spores itself. Okay. There are several types of asexual reproduction. In today's class, we will particularly discuss the asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is also so many types. Okay. If we consider asexual reproduction itself, it's a broad thing. And that asexual reproduction can be achieved by so many processes like asexual reproduction itself, vegetative propagation, then artificial methods. But if we see the asexual reproduction in a very minute thing, then it can be of four types. One is fragmentation, another one is fission, the third one is budding, and the fourth one is sporulation. But if we see asexual reproduction in a broad sense, then asexual reproduction is the reproduction or the formation of offspring without the help of formation of a gamete. Yeah. So if we consider these three topics, asexual reproduction, vegetative propagation, and artificial methods, during all these three topics, there will be no involvement of sexual gametes. Okay. So we broadly divided them into three categories like asexual reproduction, vegetative propagation, and artificial methods. Okay. Our today's class is particularly based on asexual reproduction, the first one. And I will later on upload the rest of the two, that is vegetative propagation and artificial methods. So asexual reproduction, it is very much common in lower groups of fungi, plants, animals, particularly Monera, Protista, fungi, etc. If we see, as per the five kingdom system of classification by R.H. Whittaker, there are so many groups of organisms like Monera, Protista, fungi, plants, and animalia. Okay. So those Monera, Protista, and fungi basically they show asexual reproduction. Some lower group of plant and animals also show them. Okay. In these cases, offspring are produced by fragmentation, budding, gamule formation, and sporulation. Okay. These are the four type of processes. If we see them differently, they are like this. Okay. First one is fragmentation. फ्रैगमेंटेशन सिंपली इसका मीनिंग क्या है ना, फ्रैगमेंट का फॉर्मेशन हो जाना। ठीक है, अगर हम एक धागा लेते हैं और उसको बीच से काट देते हैं तो वो फ्रैगमेंट में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा। उसी तरह फ्रैगमेंटेशन में भी वही सेम प्रोसेस कंटिन्यू रहता है। इट ऑकर्स इन मोस्ट ऑफ द लोअर प्लांट, algae, fungi and bryophytes etc, as well as in highly developed angiosperms also. Okay. Among animals, hydra and spongy show such type of reproduction. If we see mostly hydra and spongy, they show so many types of asexual reproduction. They also take part in fragmentation. They also take part in budding formation. So उनका तो चलता रहता है, वो बहुत सारे asexual reproduction में involved है। ठीक है, the process is simply a fragment formation due to accidental breakage and those fragments grow into new organisms. अगर हम यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल में देखें तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं ये एक स्पाइरोगैरा है। ठीक है, इट्स द फ्रैगमेंटेशन इन स्पाइरोगैरा एंड algae. So if we see that Spirogyra will it's accidentally break into two parts, and those two parts will continue their life. Okay, they will produce two organisms. So next one is fission formation. Okay. Fission means it's simply a conversion of one cell to two cells. Okay. It's simply look like mitosis, but it's actually not that. Bacteria and certain unicellular algae and such type of organisms, they propagated by this method of cell division. In this process, the nucleus and cytoplasm grow and divide into two equal parts. Okay. You have to remember this equal part. Why? Because in fission, the cells are divided into equal parts, but in budding, you will see different. Okay. That's why you have to remember these things. This is also known as binary fission. Why? Because in this process, the nucleus and cytoplasm, they simply grow and divide into two equal parts. Okay. If we see the diagrams here, then the diagrams will show like this. Yes, there is a cell. Okay, this type of fission is shown in bacteria. So this one is a chromosome. Sorry, this one is the chromosome bearing in the cell. Okay, it actually mentions chromosome, but it's we can say them nucleoids also. Okay, that cell is divided into two halves. Okay, if we see that cell is divided into two halves, then those two halves will converted into two organisms. That is simply a bacteria. That, okay. By the application of fission, bacteria reproduce itself. Okay. And bacteria grows in large number. Okay. As their generation time is too short. Like that, in animals, amoeba, paramecium, and euglena, they show binary fission also. Okay. But if we see, besides binary fission, there are also multiple fission. Okay. In multiple fission, simply a single cell will produce so many cells. Okay, more than two number of cells. Okay, that is, they will produce so many cells, and inside a cyst or inside the cell, okay, they will divide themselves into so many parts and they will release. And that type of process is known as multiple fission. If we see this picture, this is a multiple fission in Stamiaria, an algae. Okay, where the algae divide into more than two cells. In unfavorable, it's actually favorable, it's favorable. It's written here favorable, but it's actually favorable. Okay. In unfavorable condition, amoeba also produce cyst. It's actually cyst. It's not gamule. It's actually cyst. Okay. Inside which it develops into so many cells, known as multiple fission. If we see in amoeba, During harsh environmental conditions, they produce cyst. Okay, cyst is a hard layer. Okay, inside that hard layer, they will produce so many types of cells. Okay, those cells will release to outside when the environment will become suitable for them. Okay, like amoeba is um, amoeba is actually habituated in where water areas or means mostly wet areas. Okay, but if there will be dry season, then they will have to undergo multiple fission. Okay, and they will achieve that by using what? By using multiple fission or by the help of cyst formation, and that cyst formation is known as encystment. Okay, and if we see the last one, that is sorry, the last one is sporulation. Okay, if we see the next one, that is budding. Budding is the formation of a bud. Simply, it's a formation of a bud. That unicellular fungus yeast mostly reproduced by this process. Okay. If we see yeast, it will show a multiple it will show appearance looks like multicellular organism, but yeast is actually not a multicellular organism. Okay, it behaves like a pseudo multicellular organism due to the formation of a bud. Okay, they continuously produce buds. Okay, on their cell membrane. Unequal amount of cytoplasm and nucleoplasm contents rushed into the outgrowth produced on the surface of the organism known as buds. Okay. If we see unequal amount, okay, in fission we have seen equal amount. So that is the difference. Unequal amount of cytoplasm and nucleoplasm content rushed out, rushed into outgrowth produced on the surface, okay, of the organism. If we see, there is an organism, there is an organism. This one is an yeast. Okay. If we see, this one is the outgrowth. Okay, and to that outgrowth, nucleus, nucleoplasm and cytoplasm, they rust. Okay. Simply they rust into that, and after that it will become mature. Okay. And then it will detach from the parent cell to produce a new organism. Okay. And that type of bud formation and formation of new organism is known as simply known as bud. Okay. After maturity, these buds cut off from the mother cell. जब ये लोग मैच्योर हो जाते हैं तब ये कट हो जाते हैं, ठीक है, अपने पेरेंट सेल से they will cut. Okay. After that, during favorable conditions, sorry, after that they will produce new organisms. Okay. If we see in favorable conditions, Hydra shows external buds. Okay. Here you can see external bud is there, and after some time it will also looks like a Hydra. Okay. And after that it will cut off to produce a new organism. Okay. And in unfavorable conditions, sponges show internal budding by which they reproduce. Okay. And that internal bud is known as gemule formation. Okay. Unfavorable conditions like if there will be dry conditions, okay, where they will not get plenty of water or their food resources. Okay, during that time they will produce internal buds. Okay, inside that internal bud they will accumulate so many cells. Okay, during the arrival of a favorable condition, that bud will come out of the organism and will fall somewhere to produce a new organism. Okay, this one is known as internal budding in sponge. Okay. So basically Hydra and fungi, sorry, Hydra and spongy, they also show budding formation. And especially this type of internal budding in spongy is actually the gemule formation, not that amoeba. Okay, during amoeba it's actually cyst formation, but during sorry, in the case of spongy, it's actually gemule formation. After that, if we see, there is sporulation, the last one. Okay. If we see, this is a very general process in algae and fungi. Okay. So let's take the example of Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas is a green algae. If we see, Chlamydomonas are like this. They are like this, having two flagella and a cell like this. Okay. Inside that cell, there are formation of so many cells. Okay. Those who are looks like the parent cell. Okay. And they are also having flagella. Okay. They are also having flagella. And after some time, that parent cell will broken down like this. That parent cell will broken down to release the organisms to the outside. Okay. Those are known as zoospores. These tiny similar cells are known as zoospores. Okay. These zoospores, they are motile due to the presence of a flagella. Okay. Almost all algae and lower groups of fungi like Saprolegnia, they produce motile spores known as zoospores. Okay. And that zoospore is produced inside the sporangia, okay, which can float freely in water. So that parent cell is known as sporangium. Okay. When that parent cell or sporangium or zoosporangium will break, that time those cells inside that parent cell, they will come out, okay, and they will produce new organism. Okay. But in case of higher fungi like Aspergillus, Penicillium, okay, you will find non-motile spores which are produced inside conidia, which help in asexual reproduction. If we see a picture like here, let me draw this for you. Okay. If we see, this one is the structure of typical structure of penicillium. Okay, penicillium is looks like this. Penicillium notatum. Okay, if we see in the top, okay, there will be formation of a conidiospores. Okay, and those conidiospores will produce inside conidiophore. Okay, that conidiospores are also known as conidium. Okay, when they release to outside and they will fall somewhere. Okay, during that time they will produce new organism. Okay, and simply that spores are known as conidiospores or conidium. Okay, which will produce new organism. Okay, that conidia, they are actually asexual reproductive units. Okay, they are non-motile spores because they don't have any flagella. So with this, the asexual reproduction in organism is completed. We will see in the next class what is vegetative propagation. Okay. Stay tuned. Thank you.